Hey Mesa Design students, Mr. Holder back here, and in this tutorial I want to show you how to use text properly in Illustrator. If you've ever used text in Photoshop, it works much the same because they're both Adobe software. You'll notice that the icon for text is exactly the same as it is in Photoshop. It's this letter T here, and if you click and hold, there's all kinds of other text tools embedded within Illustrator. It's worth noting that in Photoshop does use text in a vector way, even though it's a bitmap program and uses pixels. It still creates its text while you're working in Photoshop in a vector format. Then when you export it from Photoshop, it will actually convert it to pixels, etc. So it's kind of neat that it does it that way. I think it does that to save time and that type of thing, and memory as you're doing it in Photoshop. So what it does also too is it makes it a lot easier if you've already used it in Photoshop to use it in Illustrator. So there's two types of ways that you're going to be able to make text in Illustrator. One is the one-click method, where it will create a line of text, and until you hit the return button, that line of text will continue to go in a straight line all the way off the edge of your page. So that's good for things like titles and subtitles, but not necessarily for large blocks of text. The second way that you can add text to Illustrator is by clicking and dragging a text box. So I'm going to show you the first way, which is the one-click method. So I'm going to click once, and I'm going to type text. Then you'll see it's going to just continue to go from left to right, and it'll go to infinity if I let it. And then I can click off of it, and you'll see it's one line of text. It's not within a text box. And there's a couple of differences here. So if I click and drag the second way, and I create an actual text box, and I make text, and I grab my select tool and resize it, it doesn't resize the text, it flows the text differently. So when the edge of the box reaches the next word, it will actually put in returns, or it will hyphenate it. But if I do that with a single line, one-click text, it actually resizes the text. And so I can tweak it, I can bend it, I can do anything I want with it. It's still vector. If I hold shift, it will constrain the proportions of that text, but nevertheless, it's still going to be on one line. It's not going to flow within a text box like it does here. What's cool about text boxes is that it not only does it flow within the text box, is you can actually create shapes of text. So for example, if I do a circle and I want to put text inside that, I'm going to go back to the text tool, and I'm going to say I want to do area type tool. So with this, I can hover inside of a box. I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. It's the type tool, I think, there. Nope, still wrong. Oh gosh, I'm having a hard time figuring out which one it is now. I know I can do text on a path, which is this one here. And if I hover my cursor over the edge of that circle and I type, you can see that it's going to like actually go around the edge of the circle there for me if I wanted to. Which is really cool if you want to flow it along the outer edge. But you can actually put text inside of the box, and for the life of me, I can't figure out why. But when I remember, I will return back to that and show you how to do that. But for the sake of not wasting any more time, I kind of want to go in and show you how to do more things with text. So with one line of text, if I want to edit that text or return to editing it, I can do it a couple ways. I can go back to my text tool and hover my cursor over that and click in anywhere and continue to edit the text. I could double click and highlight large blocks of text. Or if I have my select tool, I can select and double click and it will put me in cursor mode as well. So at the top of my screen, while I'm in cursor mode, I have a number of options. I can change the color of the fill, which is the color that the text is. But I can also apply a stroke to it if I want to. So if I apply, say, if I highlight my text and apply, say, a red stroke, it's going to put a red outline on my text there to give it a little bit more style and design to it. The other thing I can do from here is I can increase or decrease the size of the outline color. I can change the opacity of the color of the text, which is how clear it is. I can change the font from here, which isn't very good within the options palette, but I think it's actually better to go up to the type menu and go under font, and you get a preview of each of those fonts. So if I want to switch that over to King Arthur there, I actually see it before I apply it to it. If I do it from here, I don't get to see a preview. And while I have text selected, if I want to apply different styles, if the font allows me to, things like bold, italicized, and narrow, etc., I can do that there. And then the last thing is I can change the size of my text if I want to, specifically to a size that is to my liking. I can do that as well there. If I also want to change the size of text in one line, I can grab a corner and pull it much like I would if I drew a graphic. And if I don't hold shift, it's going to arbitrarily stretch and pull that text. If I hold shift, it will constrain the proportions of that text for me, etc. Now, what's nice about having it inside of a text box is I can apply different things like how I want the text to be justified. So right now it's left justified by default, and I can hit right justified, and then I can also center that text. And so this is good having it in a text box if I have larger types of text, or if I have just titles and subtitles. I would probably suggest doing it as a single line of text. So those are different ways. This is just a basic quick tutorial on how to add different things with text. Experiment with it and kind of learn how text works and whatnot. It's still in an editable format as text, but sometimes you want to tweak letters and turn the text into an actual image. So right now it's still text. It still requires the use of fonts to be able to display that text. But say you want to go in and you want to tweak some letters, and this is going to help really customize the way you want your text. So the last thing I want to show you is if I zoom in here and I want to, for example, extend the leg on this H right here, maybe bring the top of this T up a little bit, I need to turn my text into an image. So while it's selected, I'm going to go to the Type menu and hit Create Outlines. This is really important stuff here. When I hit Create Outlines, you'll notice it's no longer text that's editable. Now it's actually an image that has anchor points. It sees these as actual individual shapes, and I can ungroup this if I want to. I can do all kinds of crazy stuff to it. So I'm going to ungroup this so I can isolate this letter H. Now that I have anchor points, I can tweak those anchor points with my direct select tool, which is the white arrow. And in some of the previous tutorials I gave you, there's ways to manipulate shapes if you want to do that. And so now it's no different here in terms of text, because now I've turned my text into an image. So I can click through these last couple of anchor points, and so I've selected these bottom few anchor points. And what it's doing is it's ignoring all the other anchor points on the letter H, and I can pull on that and extend that further if I wanted to get a little bit more customization with my text. And so this takes you into a whole bunch of realms of possibilities. I can select, for example, the whole top portion of this letter T and ignore all the anchor points below it and just simply hit the arrow keys and stretch that out into a more modified version of that text and come up with a lot more creative freedom to manipulate text. And this is going to help you when you do the final boss, which is going to be doing a name logo, is going to help you quite a bit to manipulate, warp, and abuse text in a way to make it to your liking, and so you can customize it. But lastly, it's worth noting that once text has been converted into an image, once you go to the Type menu and you say Create Outlines, the text is no longer editable with the text tool. It's only an image, so Illustrator doesn't see it as text anymore. So we'll see you in the next tutorial. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial on how to use text in Illustrator, and good luck.